Love is all you need. Seriously? Love is the answer for so many religions and faith traditions and wisdom paths and pop phenoms. Love is the answer. Love is all you need. When Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, he gave a two-part answer. The first was love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. And the second was this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Love of God, which we might understand as love of the ultimate, love of the ultimate in transcendence or the ultimate in grounding, love of grace-given human dimension, or love of the interconnected web. Love of the ultimate is balanced by the love of the most commonplace, your neighbor. These are the greatest commandments. These are the keys to the kingdom. Love of God and love of neighbor. Love of God with all the imperfections of theology, and love of neighbor with all the imperfections of humanity. But certainly love. Love, love, love. And Buddha had a similar point of view. He said, if you truly loved yourself, you could never hurt another. Now, this is more observation than commandment, but at the level of the fundamental, that distinction begins to blur. Both teachers speak to the power of love to align us into the best we can be, into the best experience available to us. It's like love is the trump card in the spiritual deck. Oh, you've got a pair of strict adherence to dogmas and 3 creedal statements? That's a full house. Or a temple. Well, I've got a handful of theological inconsistency, but I've got love. So I win. I get to rake in that pot of holy booty. So love is the answer in all these wisdom ways, which is just great. So what? The thing is that love is the answer so much and so easily uttered that the answer has lost all meaning, and only the outline of the letters remain. It makes me want to say, don't talk to me of love. Don't say love to me. All this talk is abusive to the term because it strips it of meaning. And it reminds me of why we were once told not to take the Lord's name in vain, or even to say the name God, because it begins to lose all meaning, lose all force. Thou shalt not use the name love in vain. And what does in vain mean here? It means speaking without meaning it, without backing it up by doing. And vanity, that's just the beginning. Some of us are atheists because of, among other concerns, all the evil done in the name of God. But what of all the evil done in the name of love? Love can hurt. The worst of crimes have been committed in the name of love. Shall we cease loving? Of course not. But much like the word God, we must be careful not to conceive of love as a reflection of our own desire. And we must be careful how we exercise our love. I have seen people pour so much of their love into another or a group of others that there was nothing left for themselves. And so over time, the love they came was bereft of nutrients because its source was bereft of nutrients. Its source was unfed. I've seen people mistake self-gratification for love. I have seen people mistake infatuation for love. All of these lead to varying degrees of abuse of self or of other or both. I've seen people excuse their own abuse out of what they name as love for their abuser. Love confuses, love warps, love leads to death. And still the heartthrobs sing of it. And still we are met Sunday after Sunday with holy, hollow platitudes, adulations, exhortations, and invitations to love. Just love and it'll be all right. Love, love, love. Like that means anything anymore. I say it every Sunday in some form or another, and it means nothing. Sounds nice. We can all agree on it, which is terrible. Our agreement somehow makes it effortless. And we have confused consent with conviction. We have confused consent with living, acting, doing, risking. But we're UUs. We're Unitarian Universalists. We don't do magical thinking, right? You don't accomplish something just by hearing it. You don't show up to church, hear the word love spewed about, and feel like you've loved. You can't show up, hear me huff and puff about injustice and feel like something's been accomplished. Kindness as a sermon is meaningless without kindness in the parking lot. Forgiveness, mercy, and grace become soul-sucking demons if they are applauded and not practiced. Now, I'm not talking about everybody here. I'm just talking about you. And I'm talking about me. Forgiveness, mercy, and grace become soul-sucking demons if they are applauded and not practiced. And that is true with love as well. We read it or hear it said and feel like we have accomplished it. And so we have turned love into vanity. We love without loving. We love love because it makes us feel good to do so. And so it is weak because vanity is weak. And so it is sacrilege because we say it in vain. We say that this is the key to the kingdom, that which would make of our lives a realization of the hope of all consciousness. We say that in vain. Because the truth is, they were right. Jesus and Buddha and John Lennon were right. Love is all you need. But if you're hearing that with relief, you are not hearing it well. Love is all you need, but do not take solace there. Love is all you need, and that should scare the hell out of you. Shake your bones and shatter your sky. Because I want to get back into this sermon. I don't want to leave you there And the meditation will help us heal a little bit. But I don't want you to heal just yet. It's because not only is love overused to the point of meaninglessness, it's madness. Love is madness, and worse, it is contagious. So this is from one who some regard as an expert on the subject, William Shakespeare. He writes that love is merely a madness, and I tell you, deserves as well a dark house and a whip, as madmen do. And the reason why they are not so punished and cured is that the lunacy is so ordinary that the whippers are in love too. So what I like about that is it identifies love as both madness and ordinary. Of course, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek or melodramatic in its metaphoric imagery, just to prove its point. Nonetheless, if a madman or if madness is a break from the ordinary, break from reality, from existential ordinariness, then the bard is telling us that love, that this break from the ordinary, is ordinary. Love is open to anyone at any time. It is the most ordinary thing. And yet, love is lunacy. Love is disruptive. Love breaks open the everyday. Love breaks open the everyday, even as it is the everyday. From washing dishes to breaking hearts, from clocking in to losing yourself, from witnessing sunrise to weeping on your knees. Lunacy around every corner for those who court the holy. Hearts wide open for those who seek the immortal moment of courage. And this is why when you hear that love is the key to the good life, a life of strength, harmony, and resolve, when you hear that love is the key to the good life, you should be quaking in your boots. Because nothing is free. And if love promises the keys to the kingdom, then what do you think the price will be? I'll tell you the price. It's heartbreak. You would have to be crazy to risk it. So love must be lunacy. Love breaks the heart wide open and reorders our lives into the stupendously vulnerable. You've been there. You've been there. So I think that you know that that is where all the sweet stuff, all the good, all the all happens there. You know what I'm saying? You have loved your mother or been moonstruck for a lover. You have given your all for a dog or fell headlong into the eyes of a child. Perhaps you have opened yourself before a poem or in the midst of a music. Perhaps you have loved whatever your God with all your mind and heart and soul and strength, with everything you have. You know, you have felt in that moment the power of the whole universe moving through you, and you have known in that moment what it would be to have it snatched away. If you are precise and balanced and brave in that moment, you walk with the immortal and share their dimension for a time. We are told that this state of being is the state of being that opens heaven in the atoms of the world. That is what love does, and we are told to love our neighbor. And we are told to love ourselves like we are looking into the eyes of our child. Love your neighbor. Look at your neighbor. Right now, not the person you came with. Go ahead. Look at your neighbor. Are you ready to feel that way about your neighbor? I don't know that I am. But I hear the call. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Are you ready to feel that way about yourself? Like you were losing yourself and opening yourself before a poem, and that poem is you? That may be as difficult or even more so than loving your neighbor. Kind of like the Buddha said, I don't think that you can really love your neighbor if you do not love yourself deeply, honestly, and named. But if you find it easier to name that you love your neighbor and more difficult to acknowledge yourself, you should know two things. One, that you are compromising your love. Two, you can take heart in knowing that if you see something worthy of love in your neighbor, regardless of who your neighbor is, if you can see something worthy of love in your neighbor, regardless of who they are, that there must also then be something worthy of love in you. For you are a neighbor of another. Rest there for a moment. You can build on that. If you do love your neighbor, make sure you sensitize yourself to where that love is coming from. And from there, it's from you. Sensitize yourself to that place. And from there, build a sense of self-worth and security that will keep your love true and keep it healthy. Keep it real. Love is a cycle and a balance. We don't want to overrun our boundaries. That does damage to ourselves and others. If we balance it with love your neighbor as you love yourself, that's an instruction to keep your love in balance. Neighbor, self, and grace. That's the balance. For out of balance, if we're not in balance, love can be twisted. If it flows from an unhealthy source, it can overreach. It can respond to ego need, and so commit or excuse bad behavior and abuse. So we must be careful as well as crazy. But if we are honest while we love others as we love ourselves, then we will be balanced. And what does that balanced love look like? Does it look like weeping at sunrises and holding yourself open while you do the dishes? Maybe. But it's probably not always that dramatic. Really, one of the best descriptions of love comes to us through one of my least favorite religious thinkers. This is Paul, the Paul who wrote the most of the non-gospel part of the New Testament. The end is nigh, so don't have sex, Paul. Not my favorite thinker. But in the letter that he wrote to the church in Corinth, he writes about love so well. He writes that love is patient, love is kind. You hear this at weddings all the time. Right? Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it is not rude, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. I think that is a very good description of love when love is in balance between yourself and your neighbor. That is how always protecting and trusting and hoping, that's how that works, is that balance. Love is patient and love is kind, and this balanced love is courageous and strong, and it has to be, because this love is, of course, risky. Actually, it's not even risky. It's beyond risky, because we love even though heartbreak is assured. It is assured. Betrayal or death or dissipation or disappointment are guaranteed. They're guaranteed. But love loves anyway, because in the moment of love, we experience the highest in the human. And that is worth it. For what it does to us and for what it does to the world through us, when balanced by neighbor and self, love is worth losing love for. And it doesn't last. But if you love enough, it will shape you. If you lose it enough, because if you love enough, you will lose it enough for it to shape you. So losing love, while painful, actually calls for us to love again, because we remember the freedom and power and peace of love's presence. And being broken open in that love yields something mysterious and profound and renewing. So orient to love, not only with your consent, but with your conviction, not only with your ears, but with all your heart and mind and soul and strength. Do that, and your world will change. Loving is not easy. As ordinary as it is also dreadful, difficult, takes work and discernment. Loving yourself as you love your neighbor is scary and may just require some effort. And so let me encourage you as you encourage me, for you have encouraged me. Let me see if I can see you and give me the courage to be seen. If you are having trouble, by the way, touching the love in your life, you're reflecting here and you're thinking, I don't know what that would be like, where I would put my love, what would that feel like? Look around for where your heart breaks. And live there. It's worth it. And it will grow. Love may be all you need, but love is nothing without you actually loving. And that takes courage because it requires and creates vulnerability, but it also gives us lives worth living and is our highest blessing of this beautiful world. It opens a window when we're in love, when we are loving. It opens a window into the timeless. Remember when you have loved, there was no time there. It opens a window into the timeless and onto the serene and the tenderness of wonder, and so gives a sense of our interconnected and thus immortal selves. Love is all you need. but only if our consent is demonstrated by our conviction. So let us now find a meditative posture.